to record the session. Hello to those of you that are going to watch the replay. I started to say hello before I actually pressed the button. So ladies, it was an impactful week thus far. You shared a lot with me, you gave me feedback, and I really want to commend you for your participation, because at the end of the day, this is really all about you, and this is about you starting your process of getting your worthiness back, or starting your process of appreciating your worthiness that got dusted or covered under dust, or maybe it is just time to start your journey of worthiness again. And just to recap, on Monday night, we spoke about what it means to be a radiant woman. What does it mean to have presence, that it's something we can always aspire to. And I also explained to you the brain works around worthiness. Why is it that I don't feel good enough? How does brain paths work, neuropaths work? And then last night, I brought some good news, and I shared with you how those neural paths can be permanently changed through BWRT, brain working recursive therapy. And we also spoke about other things that you can do to kickstart and continue your journey of worthiness. We spoke about changing perception, being aware of our perception. We spoke about a lot of other things, and the videos will remain available for you for some time. So you are more than welcome to watch them again. Then just a reminder that if you are on Facebook, and I can't really see much on Facebook at the moment, please just leave a hello in the comment section, that I know you were with me online. And also any questions that you may have, leave it in the comments. The moment I come offline here, I will definitely go and have a look, and I will answer you. And remember, if you leave a hello, you still qualify to go into the lucky draw for a free mentoring session with me to the value of 850 Rand. And I will post another activity tonight. There will be an activity tomorrow night, as well as an activity on Friday. And I will announce the lucky winners on Saturday. Normally I make you wait until Monday, but we'll do that on Saturday. And if you participate in the activities, every time you participate, you get another chance in the lucky draw. And 3 ladies will win the 50 Shades of Pink Emotional Wellbeing e-journal. That is a PDF format with fun activities for emotional well-being. And so let's get into tonight. Oh, and of course, I just wanted to say that if you have any questions, if anything that we discussed intrigued you, or you are concerned about, or you don't understand, you are most welcome to ask also, either in the comments of this session or in a separate Facebook page. We can learn from each other. It is so amazing that we often refrain from asking a question because what if I'm wrong, or what are people going to say? But this is your practice ground to show you that voicing something, other people may say, wow, I never thought of that. But it's also practice ground for that worthiness and that feeling valuable and that confidence and knowing that there's no judgment at all. Okay, so ladies, it is so important for me to give you value. And for me, it's everything is in the practicality. It's no good, I understand, and it's all airy-fairy stuff, but I need practical steps. And that is why last night was also important for me, to give you practical ideas of how you can carry on, well, either kickstart or carry on with your worthiness journey. Tonight's session is all about protecting your sparkle. When we start a journey like this, we tend to be more vulnerable, because suddenly there is awareness of things that we may have parked, an awareness of things that we don't really want to revisit, or awareness of things we didn't even know exist. So we may feel not always as if we are always in the greatest space. We may be more vulnerable. And it's in this time, and let me just explain to you, a part of the vulnerability that you experience is the old and the new having that tug of war that I spoke about last night. It is your cognitive, the logic brain. It's the logic brain's awareness of the fact that there's new things, new skills, new way of thinking, but the subconscious mind still has its old beliefs. So every time you cognitively try to do something, you put an effort into it, the subconscious brain will say to you, no, 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 that's not what we know. Because remember what we said? The brain wants to conserve energy, so it's looking for the path of least resistance, which is the highway. So why on earth do I want to take the gravel footpath if there's a highway? And that's what's happening. The brain is going to say, no, 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 there's a highway. Let's not go there. That takes too much effort. And this is where it is so important that we have measures in place where we can protect ourselves and that we don't give up on this journey, that we continue to see it as something that is very, very exciting. So I initially had 4 things, but 4 for me is such an odd number, so I quickly added another one. 5 is my lucky number. So I'm going to give you, again, 5 things that you can bear in mind. And it's all about protecting your sparkle. Okay, and your sparkle is your radiant confidence that we spoke about since Monday night. Now, the first tip I want to give you is know your triggers. Now, remember, your triggers are your auto responses. Okay, so that is when something triggers you, it means that your brain has marked it as highly unsafe. And instantly you'll have a response or an action to that or a reaction to that. So that is where we sometimes say things that should not have been said, where we do something that we regret later, where you just can't control yourself. You can't stop yourself. It happened without you even having an opportunity to think about it. Now, when you are aware of these things, you can be more consciously aware of exactly what is it that triggers me. Is it a tone of voice? Is it a word? I remember so vividly, my mother-in-law, bless her heart, she's passed away already. If you mentioned the word stuff to her, she lost her cool. She was a hoarder of note. And you could talk about goods and you could talk about nonsense, but don't use the word stuff. She would lose it instantly. So that was definitely a trigger word for her. But know what it is that triggers you. Because if you can acknowledge those triggers and you can be very aware of them, and you can start noticing if those triggers come across in very particular people, you can be more prepared, mentally prepared, and you can learn to manage those situations better. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for instance, you have a boss, a manager, an associate that you work with that's got quite a demanding personality and that tends to have freak out moments where they scream at you and without filters, they say things that are not nice. Now, your auto response could either be that you scream back. It could be that you freeze completely, which can also be a trigger for the other person, or you freeze completely, or that you are so fearful of his or her behavior that you avoid them. So what you can do now is, let's say, for instance, you have news to convey to that person, but it's not good news, and that person is possibly going to be triggered, which means his or her behavior is going to trigger you. So what can I do? So now I'm starting to think out the box, and I say, right, maybe I should put this in an email to say, I would like to discuss the following, but just in preparations, please take note of the facts, which means that the initial freak out will happen without your presence. By the time you then see that person may have already started to process whatever news you have to share with them. Can you see? So knowing my triggers, I'm better prepared, and I can also, and it's interesting that we always think we have to react immediately. But when those triggers come, and remember, you will have severe emotions. Okay, you will experience severe emotions. The minute you feel your tummy going dear mekaar and you feel you are perspiring, a few seconds can feel like hours, but just for a moment, freeze, stop, and think about it and say to yourself, okay, that was a trigger. I'm not going to respond. What is best to respond? so that you literally can just regulate your nervous system and that you don't say and do things that you later on regret. I just want to say something that is also very important, ladies. When you have severe triggers that can lead to panic attacks, or if you have, you know that you suffer of post-traumatic stress disorder, please do not ignore that. That needs professional intervention. I have been involved in an armed robbery many years ago, and for 2 years, I got panic attacks when I traveled. And I thought I'm pathetic because my logic brain tells me that I'm safe, but I could not control my emotions and I was in complete denial. There's also a myth going around that post-traumatic stress disorder cannot be sorted out. It's absolute nonsense. Things like EMDR, eye movement desensitization and replacement therapy, and BWRT proved that those triggers can be sorted out, because post-traumatic stress disorder just means that there is a remaining trigger and your body remains in fight or flight mode, which can then lead to panic attacks. Okay, so just be aware that if you feel you can't get yourself to manage your triggers, means that there is a deeper lying or an underlying cause that needs some attention. Okay. The second one is to learn to manage our emotions. Now I'm talking just basic emotions, okay? So we've done with the triggers and the auto responses, but now we all have emotions. We are created with emotions. We respond with different emotions in different situations. And I was actually telling somebody this afternoon of a client that I have worked with who would sulk for a week on end when somebody upset her. It's almost like that emotion of embarrassment, the emotion of disappointment remains and she can't get out of it. But what I want to say to you is it sometimes need a conscious decision to stop those thoughts. Thoughts create emotions. So when I am in an emotional state that's not a good state, it means that I've got thoughts. Now, as long as those thoughts spiral and they continue, my emotions will remain. So I need to make a decision to say, okay, that is enough now. Now I need to move forward. So how do I deal with emotions? Because it is not expected of us to be in a manic state all the time. It is impossible to always feel joyful and happy. Then you're surely not living on planet Earth. You're not human. It's like, I will not know what light is if there isn't darkness, and I will not know what joy if there's no sadness. So we have to deal with both of them. But when I am in not a good mood state, when I'm disappointed, when I'm hurt, when I'm angry, when I'm frustrated, acknowledge that. Don't deny it. Some people will suppress it and say, oh, no, I'm okay. No, don't worry about me. No, rather say, I'm not okay. Or if you can't say it out loud, acknowledge it to yourself. Then the next step is give yourself permission to sulk. Decide, and it's important that you allow those emotions to be with you. So now you decide, I am actually going to be disappointed now for a little while, and I'm going to cry now for a little while, and I'm going to be angry now for a little while. And if you need to punch your fist into your pillow, please just don't break anything and hurt yourself. Then you do that. Allow those emotions because they are appropriate. If you are upset about a group of people that are not watching the movie that you want to watch, that's not appropriate, okay? Because that is a little bit selfish. But when an emotion is appropriate, allow it to just be for a little while. But then you need to make the decision to say that's enough, because you want to pattern break your thoughts. And how can you move forward? Now, in the program, I give many tips But the one that really works well, and that is a great way of also processing the sparring thoughts, is something that I call the principle of curiosity. And the principle of curiosity contains mainly two questions, okay? So the first question that I'm going to ask myself is, what can I learn from this? So let's go back to the boss that screamed at me. So what can I learn from this is that my boss has an auto response that is screaming. My boss has an auto response that is freaking out. It could be anything else. But what is it that I'm learning? I'm learning that that kind of person does not gel with my personality. That kind of behavior triggers me. Or that kind of individual really sucks up all my energy. Or this kind of activity does not spark me with joy. I am learning something from it. And the second question then is, what can I do differently in the future? And now I'm going to find a solution. I'm going to say, if I've got bad news for the boss, I'm going to email it first. What else is there? If I've got somebody that drains my energy, then I'm going to have to learn to limit the time period that I spend with such a person, and to say to her, I can see you between 12 and 1 o'clock, but at 1 o'clock I need to go. So what can I learn? Try and find something in there, even if it is just acknowledging the fact that this is this person's personality, whatever it may be. And the second thing is, how can I manage that better into the future? It is amazing that when we start thinking about something to move away from that sulking emotions that we have, that the brain is finding alternative opportunities, and that also breaks the spiraling thoughts. Point number 3 is something very close to my heart, and possibly because this led to a massive breakthrough in my own life. And this is to set and honor boundaries. Now, I find that people will often say, oh, you have to have stricter boundaries, or you have to put a boundary in place. But it's, a question of, how do I do that? How do I apply that? Now, boundaries, again, there is a whole module in the program that explains it beautifully, that explain different boundary elements beautifully, that gives you the foundation of why you are allowed to say no without feeling guilty. But for tonight, I just want you to understand that boundaries are part of your identity. Why? Because when I have boundaries in place, I know what I like and what I dislike. I know that, and I acknowledge that, and I will honor that. That's the secret. I know what sparks me with joy and what doesn't spark me with joy. I know what I will allow in my life and what I will not allow in my life. I know what I'm prepared to sacrifice and what I'm not prepared to sacrifice. And when I know those things, they almost become like a policy document for my life. And if I can give you a little bit of an analogy, is imagine you are surrounded by a bubble. There's a sphere around you, and everything inside that sphere or that bubble belongs to you. It's who you are. It's yours. Now, when something is yours, we take ownership of it and we look after it, okay? And when it's mine, I can decide who am I going to lend it to, who will I allow to use it, but it's my decision. And that is exactly what happens with our identity and our boundaries. The boundary says, this is what I will allow, this is what I will sacrifice, this is what that I will tolerate. But anything outside this is a no-go for me. Which now makes it easier to say, that kind of person, that person's values are not the same as mine. Inside my bubble, there's honesty. I can't do business with you if you are dishonest. Within my bubble, there is consideration. So I'm not prepared to sacrifice my consideration for somebody that's demanding and unreasonable and stealing my joy. And what I want you to remember is that every single individual on earth has the same, I call it a bubble, it's just an easier word, has got the same personal bubble. And everything inside that bubble is everybody's responsibilities. Which means that if you say something to me, How I'm going to respond is my responsibility because that is inside my bubble. Am I going to cry? Am I going to be angry? I can decide. But if I said something to you that upset you, then your choice of emotion is in your bubble. I'm not responsible for something in your bubble. Now, this is not permission to be nasty. This is just permission to say that I do not have to be a people pleaser. Ladies, if we are so different, how on earth are you going to keep everybody happy? It is a question of this is me. And this that I protect will allow me to give you my best version to you. But if that's not good enough for you, and you want to sulk about it and you want to be angry about it, that's actually your responsibility. How does the saying go? Not my circus, not my monkeys, not my circus. And that's what it boils down to. And it's not about selfishness because I can decide what am I prepared to sacrifice? What am I prepared to tolerate? But if I know where that bubble stops, it will be easier for me to not allow people to take advantage of me. It will be easier for me to see when my boundaries are pushed. In other words, the minute there's resentment, the minute I'm screaming no on the inside and I'm saying yes, it means that I'm not honoring my boundaries. It's really a profound concept to understand. I had a conversation with a client this afternoon, and I'm so humbled and yet so joyful to see how she has changed. That she said to me, I put my foot down, Leon. I said to them, I'm not going to do this. I'm not comfortable. I was like, wow, talk about a 180-degree turnaround because of this lady understanding her boundaries, respecting her boundaries, honoring her boundaries. And although her family initially thought something really happened with her, they are starting to see and they are starting to respect her. Okay. Sure, I'm talking more than I expected. Point number 4 is we need safe support. Now, when we start a journey like this and we're excited about the information that we're accumulating and we are excited about little progresses that we see and we are excited to know that I'm on my way to becoming that radiant woman, there are going to be people who will not understand your journey. They may be your best friend. They may be your family that's going to say, oh, please, are you wasting your time on this stuff? There's nothing wrong with you. But they're not in your shoes. Or you learned a new concept and you want to share that with a spouse or with your partner, and they just like look at you. No, man, you sound a bit crazy. Or you will get those that might be envious. We talk about mirroring. So people will, their own issues they project on others, they'll say, ah, that stuff doesn't work, you're wasting your time. And why do you want to? Ladies, you definitely do not need negative input when you're on this journey because it can be a bit of a bumpy ride. But what you need is people that will fully support you. They may not necessarily agree with everything, but people that can motivate you, that can be excited for you, that even if they don't understand, will give you positive feedback. And what you really, really need, and I'm again going to refer to my conversation with my client this afternoon, is somebody that can point out your progress. When we are in our own shoes, we don't always see the progress. This afternoon, when my client told me about what happened over Christmas, I was gobsmacked. And I pointed out almost 5, 6 things that I said, this is how you have changed. And she still said to me, Julian, I never realized that. But now that you pointed out, yes, we need somebody that can focus on my progress, that can help me see how I've changed for the better. I definitely do not need somebody that's going to tell me, no, listen, I don't know who you are becoming, but you're wasting your time or your money. We don't need that. We definitely do not need that. So make sure, and I think this is the beauty for me about the community that I created, is that's where women, even though they don't know each other, they get to know each other. But that's a safe space where they can say, oh, I've got a win for today, or I'm feeling like I'm regressing, or I don't know how to handle this. Because this is the other thing. While you are on this journey, you may face a situation and not know what is the best way of dealing with it, because you are still thinking with your old neuropaths. And this is where somebody like a mentor, like who I am inside the Radiant Women program, can help you to gain perspective. I had somebody that said to me yesterday, you are the voice of reason. Okay, so that's a new nickname for me. But that can just help me change my perspective, because I'm still thinking with my old brain and don't always see that there is another angle for a situation. And that is the fifth one that I added. It's also an exercise that we do inside the Radiant Women program, and I call it writing angry letters. Now, sometimes we have this incredible resentment towards somebody that may have done something to us, and we suppress that and we shove it in under the carpet, or we don't think about it, or we parked it somewhere. But every now and again, it's a memory that comes back, which again, BWRT will sort out. But to get rid of those pent up emotions, there's an exercise that we call freestyle writing. And freestyle writing is where you grab a piece of paper and you start on the left of the piece of paper and you vigorously write your thoughts without lifting your hand. So there's no commas, there's no full stops, there's no capital letters and small letters. You just write, and you write vigorously. And when you get to the end of the page, you start on the left-hand side again. The idea is to just write out your thoughts. You know, those things that we could never say to people that rejected us, or who have been nasty to us. Those emotions that, you know, those swear words that we wish we could say, but it's not a nice thing to do. This is your chance to get rid of all those pent-up resentment, to actually do freestyle writing. And it's something you can do over and over again. Your boss, your colleague, your family, your cousin, your whoever upsets you, it's a brilliant way to also get all those emotions out by actually doing freestyle writing. Okay. Please tell me in the comment section, which of these tools, that's what I call them, tools, do you think will come in handy for you going forward? I'm also going to ask a question about that in the activity, which I will post a little bit later. And then, ladies, I often say I absolutely suck at sales. So I don't want you to think that the next piece that I'm going to talk about is actually sales. I'm not even shy to confess that. But I've had a couple of women that asked me about the Radiant Women program. And I know that some people prefer to read, some people prefer to listen. And I decided, okay, well, let me give you a summary for those that are not keen on reading a whole long piece of stuff. So the Radiant Womanhood program, very similar to the Blossom and Prosperity program, aims at starting where you are, taking you through a process of managing your emotions, and then starting to work with your limiting beliefs. And that is also where Luzelle's 30-minute rapid breakthrough session comes in. So we're going to deal with all the brain works, see what are the underlying issues of you not being confident and not feeling worthy. We work with your outer appearance. There is a style personality analysis included, which will tell you exactly what your preference for an appearance is, so that you can stop comparing yourself with others, and that you can stop listening to others who tell you what you must wear, so that you can treasure what your personal style preference is. And we will teach you how to put the best out to the world from an image perspective. We also talk about how can I display confidence in the social environment. A lot of ladies feel completely intimidated when they're among strangers. You know, what do I talk about? What do I do with my hands? Where do I look? And all kinds of little things that will also give you some skills to cope in social environments. Then we start with assertiveness skills, and not particularly in this order, but I've got a very powerful module on what I call behavior styles that's going to teach you about people that cause the biggest frustration for us. So in behavior styles, you will learn about people's behavior in different situations. You will learn about your own behavior style, and you will learn what of other behavior styles will actually trigger you. And you will learn how you can deal with the different behavior styles so that you can get the best possible response. It is an incredible module. It is a modality that I've used in companies, for team dynamics. It is absolutely, absolutely brilliant, but also for your own personal life. We're going to talk about values and how you can actually use your values as I must want to say, as a map for decision making, how you can honor your values. We talk about boundaries extensively because the boundaries will now teach you where do you draw the line, and there are 9 elements that you can always use to test your boundaries and to make sure that that you honoring your boundaries. Then we also do assertive communication, because now it's all good and well that I know what I want to say, but how am I going to say that? So in the communication module, we will teach you the formula, and we'll teach you how to use your tone of voice so that you can become comfortable with sharing your heart, sharing your opinion, and learn to say no without guilt feelings. And then there's also a module about the art of receiving and giving, because at the end of the day, we all want to live meaningful. And to be meaningful, we need to learn to accept, and we need to learn to give. And that is also quite a profound module. How this will work is you will enter a support group on Facebook, and that support group is literally there for support. That is where you will get continuous support from me. Okay, so if I have to add up the amount of hours of support and mentoring you're going to get, it's invaluable. But I'm going to be there to answer your questions, to support you, to teach you extra things. Once a month, there is a live coaching session. We will have an online session with additional motivation, a time to connect with me. You obviously have your BWRT session with Luzelle. And ladies, what I've done now is I'm going to allow you to stay in that support group until you had enough of us. I've seen that once women completed their modules, that's when their growth really happens. And that is where they really and truly need support. So at the moment in the Blossoming Prosperity Program, you leave the group after 4 months. Now, from now on, you're going to stay there. You're going to stay there. Oh, I want to sneeze. My apologies. You're going to stay there for as long as you want to. So even once you've completed your payment, you can stay there for support until you feel that you've had enough of us. Payment will also work differently. I have done a couple of conversations with many, many women, and I know that finances is the biggest problem. It is the biggest problem. Life is expensive. You have children. You know what your budget looks like. So I've also extended the payment plan to run over either 6 months or 12 months. But ladies, I have to just share something with you. If there's one lesson that I've learned, and in my own personal life, and with every single client that I've worked with, if it doesn't ache to pay for something, we don't actually commit or appreciate it. So even though I try to make the installments as low as possible, if it's going to ache or it's painful to pay them, I tell you, it's a mind game. My husband always says it's mind games, but that makes commitment. When it's just going to cost you $50 and you're not going to feel it, it's very easy to neglect yourself. And I want you to put yourself first. I want you for once in your life to put yourself first, because this investment that you're going to make, you're going to either pay it once off or you're going to pay it over 12 months, but it's a once-off investment that will continue to grow in your behavior. Once you've learned all these skills, once your brain paths have changed, you can't go back. It's not reversible. It's permanent. Okay, so please just bear that in mind. What else is there? You will have an online library. There is a library inside the Facebook group with books that you can download, motivational movies, music, things that can keep you going. And ladies, it is just an amazing community. It is even heartwarming for me. I even get uplifted by that community. And people are often reluctant to be part of a community, but you will never, ever be asked to talk about personal stuff that you don't want the world to know about. I'm not going to force you to do that. Nobody's going to force you to do that. But it is a safe space where you can say, something amazing happened with me today. Please celebrate with me. And we can never, ever understand the value of a sense of belonging. Sometimes we don't feel we belong anywhere. Well, this could be your sense of belonging. So very soon, I will put the prices out there. It is a total of 5,500 Rand. And, you know, I did some research. And in 2020, I did a mentoring course with an American lady. And I'm almost too shy to tell you what I paid for it. It was 10,000 of Rand. But if I add up the basic value of the time and the content that you are going to get, the value of this program is far beyond 32,000 Rand. But I really wanted to give you value for your money because I know it's hard out there, but I want you to become the best version of you. Okay, so that is my story for tonight. If you want to know anything, you can DM me, you can leave a message in the comment section. But I want to finish it off, and I'm almost sad to think that this is my last night of the free sessions. I always enjoy them so much, and there will be more of them later on in the year. But I want to leave you with this quote, which says, confidence is a superpower. Believe in yourself, and magic starts to happen. I greet you, and we will stay in contact inside the Facebook Inspire, Grow, Prosper for those who are going to listen to the replay sent by email. I say good night, and I'd love to hear from you. And this week, I avail myself to you. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section. Okay, ladies, I say good night.